Hi friends, welcome to the Natural Nourished Family. In this video, we are going to be making some dinner rolls. So I am using my sourdough starter and making some dinner rolls. I'm actually practicing for Thanksgiving. I made this recipe once and it was okay. So I'm practicing again, and actually it came out really good, so I'm happy because I'm going to make these for Thanksgiving. So I am using my sourdough starter that I started probably a couple months ago, and it's doing really good. That's just been something so fun. So I have it sitting there on the counter. So I usually keep it in the fridge in between when I'm not using it, so I don't have to feed it every single day, or twice a day is what it ends up usually being. But I took it out a few days ago, started feeding it, and really beefed it up so that it was ready for today because I am making a couple different recipes, so I needed a lot of starter. Let me explain what I'm doing. So I am measuring out the water and milk and butter that is going onto the stovetop. So the point here is to melt the butter. So I'm using my scale. I highly recommend keeping some sort of scale in your kitchen. A lot of these recipes tend to want you to measure things in weight, like grams, which I love, so you can be like really specific. I'm putting the stove on a medium low so that the milk and butter and water doesn't boil like crazy. I just want it to heat up to be able to melt the butter, and then once the butter melts, then I will let it cool. So while that is heating up, I'm going to measure out my other ingredients that I need. So here's my starter. I love this. I love opening up the starter. Whoops. I love opening it up and seeing how much it grew and how active it is. And it smells so good. So I put the rubber band around there to be able to kind of monitor how much it grows, because I want it to double. You can see this more than doubled. But yeah, you can see that it's nice and active and kind of like stringy or sticky or whatever you want to call it. So I'm measuring out in weight how much starter that I need for this recipe. And we keep going. I like to be very specific. Again, why I like having a scale, and I like recipes that use grams. And so you need a mixer for this recipe. So I'm going to put my starter in the mixing bowl. And then I'm going to crack my egg. It's probably a better idea to crack an egg in a separate bowl just in case the egg was bad or you drop some shells, but one less bowl to clean. Okay, now for the sugar. I absolutely love this sugar. This is a 100% cane sugar, pure sugar. I did a lot of research on sugar recently because, one of my patients in the hospital was asking for raw brown sugar, and I was very confused. I realized I didn't know that much about sugar and processed sugar and how it's processed. So I did a bunch of research, and so like raw sugar is brown sugar, but brown sugar that we use, at least here in America, is actually just white cane sugar with molasses added to it. and that's what gives it the brown color and makes it like a different consistency, like sticky. So yeah, very interesting. So you should look it up if you want to learn more about it. But anyways, now I only buy this 100% pure raw cane sugar. It's not processed. That's why it appears brown. It's not sticky. And usually you can just use it like white granulated sugar in any recipe. So that's what I'm using here today. And now I'm checking on the butter mixture. The butter is not quite yet melted, so that's okay. We have other things to do, and we're just letting this mix up according to the recipe, which I will put in the description. I'm not going to go over like all the specifics in the video, but I will definitely post the recipe for you. So just kind of scraping the bottom a little bit to make sure it's all mixed up. And then we're going to mix it some more. I guess not. Not sure what I just did there, but checking on the butter again because I want to make sure that the butter just melts, and then I need it to cool down a little bit after. So we're really not trying to boil it like crazy over here. So I really want to keep an eye. As soon as it melts, I'm going to take it off the heat so it can start to cool down a little bit. Kind of stirring it around just will help, the butter melt faster. So it looks like it's all melted. So we're taking it off the heat and stirring it, trying to help it, kind of cool down a little bit, because we don't want to add this hot liquid to the mixing bowl with the egg in it, because it will cook the egg, and we don't want that. It will ruin the recipe. It'll kind of create like scrambled eggs. Really bad texture. It's not gonna do what we need it to do. So I'm pouring it into another container to kind of help it cool down, to get it out of the hot pot. So we're going to let this sit for a little bit and let it just cool down a little bit more. Back to my scale. So now we're going to measure out the flour. I also love this flour. It's organic bread flour. It's the King Arthur brand. And so I grabbed a bowl, hoping that it was the right size, because again, these recipes are calling for grams, and I really didn't know what to picture for. I think it was about 500 grams of flour that I needed, so I was hoping that this bowl would be big enough. I didn't grow up using grams, so when they say like 500 grams, I'm not really sure. But yeah, it just about fit. Okay, next is the salt. So this is just an iodized salt. It doesn't have any like added ingredients. It's just salt. I like to be careful because I don't want to like overdo or underdo the salt. So that's why I just like to use a regular iodized salt and measure it really well. Okay, so now we got that. We could put the scale away for a bit. You'll see I take it out, in and out a bunch of times for this recipe. So just checking my recipe in the background there. All right, so we're going to turn the mixer back on, just at like a low, kind of medium low speed. And we're going to add the butter, milk, and water mixture very slowly so that it can mix, it can like incorporate really well. And especially because it is still kind of warm. So we're just going to add it very slowly while the mixer is running. I've just been loving making all these bread recipes. It just smells so good. I don't know about you, but when I used to walk down the grocery aisle, back when I used to actually go grocery shopping before online ordering was a thing. I would walk down the bread aisle. Oh my gosh, my favorite aisle. It smells so good. But I actually haven't bought bread in months. I've been making it all homemade, even my sandwich bread. I've been making dinner rolls and English muffins and sourdough rolls, all sorts of things. And oh my gosh, I've just been loving it, and it makes my house smell so good. All right, so now that that's all added, now we're going to add the flour and salt. I like to add this like kind of slowly, but it doesn't have to be too slow. And I forgot to mention earlier, I'm using the paddle attachment. We're not using the dough hook here. So even though we're making bread, right now we're not using the dough hook. We're just using the paddle, and we're not using a whisk either. So it's the paddle attachment. So, by the way, this recipe took a really long time. It took way too much time. I'm really gonna have to figure out the timing for making these rolls for Thanksgiving. I'm gonna have to time it really good with what else we're cooking in the oven, because it has to sit and rest and rise and do all these things. And yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out timing because it would be nice to put it right in the oven when it's ready to be baked, and then be able to take it out and have them fresh. But I guess it doesn't matter. I could probably heat them up a little before I serve them, so I should probably cook them earlier than later. But seriously, I started this recipe around 10 o'clock in the morning, and I know I was making other things and the kids were running around, but I think they weren't even ready until dinner time. I want to say it was 6 o'clock or so. Yeah, just kind of crazy. But worth it. So worth it. I don't mind. The kids like to help me, so I'm teaching them. It's you get a lot out of it. I get the relaxation of cooking. I get homemade bread. I get to teach my kids some things. So it's worth it. Okay, so now that it's pretty well mixed together, we're just scraping it down. This was hard work, so I don't want to waste one bit of it. So I'm going to take the paddle off and really scrape it down. Again, I don't want to waste one bit of this dough. And then we're going to scrape down the sides of the bowl. See, every little bit, I need it. I don't know why this part is really satisfying. I love scraping down the side of the bowl. Okay, and then now that it's kind of just in a kind of a ball in the middle, we're going to cover it with a damp towel, and we're going to set a timer so that it can rest. And I can't remember, what was that, 30 minutes? So poof, 30 minutes went by, and it's not meant to really rise a whole lot right now. It was just resting. So now we're going to use the dough hook, and this part is long. This took forever. So we are going to mix it on medium-ish, and medium high for quite a bit of time. Again, I'll put the recipe below. I can't remember off the top of my head how long, unless we can see my stopwatch. I don't know, I can't read what that said, but but it was a while. It was mixing for a while. And you'll see it like slowly starts inching towards the side. So it doesn't change, like, see how it's getting closer to the side? That's how crazy it's going. So the dough doesn't really change, like, dramatically. So I sped that up. That took, I think it was like 6 or 8 minutes that it was, like, kneading it. So it's a little bit different texture now. It doesn't like look super, super different, but it is a little bit different. It's a little bit smoother. Kind of turning a little bit more into what you would think of a dough. Okay, so now we're going to take the bowl off. We don't need that anymore. And here is the dough. So we're going to put it into, I think I probably oiled this bowl so that it doesn't stick. That's usually what I'll do. I think I usually use like avocado or olive oil. Probably avocado oil is better. Just, put a little oil all over the bowl so it doesn't stick. That really, really helps. So we're going to put the dough in. We're just going to dump it right in here. Again, got to get every last bit. Like, this was a lot of work, so I want every bit of dough that I can get. Yay, it's getting there. Okay, so we're going to use the damp cloth again, cover it up, and I decided to put it in the oven with the light on, so it gets very warm, very nice and toasty in the oven with the light on. I don't know what temperature. I mean, my house is like about 70-ish, 74, depending on what time. It's been colder outside at nighttime and during the day recently, so the inside of my house is a little bit colder. So I decided to just go ahead and put it in the oven with the light on. So it gets probably, I don't know, like 90 degrees in there, 80 something, I don't know. But it rises really well. So you saw my stopwatch, so I put it in there for about like 6 hours or so. So poof, 6 hours went by and now we're taking it out. We're stretching it out into a nice big rectangle. And this is the fun part. So I have my bench scraper. This was an amazing investment. I mean, they're not expensive, but I was trying to make bread without one, and it's very hard. So highly recommend. You really need one. And then what we're going to do next is divide the dough up into fairly equal pieces so we can start to make the dinner rolls. By the way, this dough is just, like, it feels so good. My kids keep coming up and wanting to, like, play with it and keep asking me for pieces to play with. So I'm very happy here trying to make this rectangle because it's so soft. So I think they say to make it about, like, 9 by 13 rectangle and then cut it in even pieces. And you'll see here, it takes me like forever to try to figure out how to make equal pieces, but I kind of cut those parts out. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't mathing today. So I'm just putting a little bit of flour so it doesn't get stick so much. So we want 12 equal pieces to make into the dinner rolls. So I figured I would divide it into 3 that way and then into 4 the other way to make 12 pieces. And so here's my embarrassing part that I cut out in a few seconds. trying to look at the ruler, trying to figure out where to cut it. Trust me, I cut out like a minute of video. And I'm here just thinking. I'm really trying to figure out how to make this equal. But it's really hard because it's like in the middle of the ruler. So I didn't cut out all the video just to show you like this is real life. Okay, so anyways, I said, forget it. I'm just going to wing it. And then watch what happens. Wait for it. What's happening? Wait for it. Yeah, my camera fell. And it did that a couple times, but I cut those parts out. So anyways, I just kind of figured out just to cut it. And then I got smart. Watch this. So this is before I got smart, but what I'm doing is just taking the balls or like the sections and kind of like rolling or folding them into a ball. And this is so relaxing, by the way. The dough just feels so nice in your hands and it smells so good. I love it. If you love cooking, if you love baking, even if you only a little bit like it, this is just so nice. So I was wrong. This is like before I got smart. I put all the pieces into a ball. Okay, this is where I got smart. I grabbed the scale, obviously, after I wasted time rolling them all into balls, and weighed them so they were all the same weight. And so I ended up kind of adjusting them so they were all a little bit closer in size. They weren't perfect. They weren't all perfectly the same size, but that's okay. But you want them to be as close as possible so that when they bake evenly, so they're all, done cooking at the same time. So some of these were really, really off. Like some were like 100 grams, some were like 70 grams. So that just, I don't think would have turned out good. So I'm glad that I thought to grab the scale and just weigh them out. But I wish I did this before I rolled them all into the ball so that maybe they would have, well, maybe it doesn't really matter. The important part is that I did it and they came out good. Alright, so now I'm going to grab my sheet pan with parchment paper, and I'm going to put all the dinner rolls spaced apart nicely. They do rise, but they can be fairly close together. That's no problem. And so they should all really just fit on the sheet pan nicely. And then what we're going to do is put a towel on top, let it rest for a little bit, and then pop it in the oven, and then this is your final product. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. They smelled so good. They were not too hard, not too soft. They were perfect dinner rolls. And then here's me eating one, so you can kind of see after I cut it open, see, nice and squishy. Yay!